Should you cut up your credit cards and never use them again, or should you go wild and max them out? Well, that's actually what we're going to be talking about in this video, so let's get into it right away. But of course, before we do, full disclaimer, I am not giving you any kind of advice regarding finances and how you should manage your own life, but rather I just want to give you some ideas regarding credit cards because you hear all kinds of different opinions out there regarding the plastic, right? So let's get into it right away and talk through this. So you hear all the different people out there, right? On one side of the spectrum, you have one guy who says, cut up your credit cards, never use them again, and never think about opening another credit card for the rest of your life. Meanwhile, on the other side of the spectrum, you have people say, go wild. If you have the credit line, burn it all up, spend all the money, and just have fun with your life. Well, I wouldn't recommend that either. That is not a good solution. Meanwhile, you have other people in the middle of the spectrum, like myself, who come out and say, credit cards should be used as a tool. Let's talk through some of the strategies in which you can actually use credit cards to your advantage in a responsible manner, and you can actually better your life and get a lot of really cool perks and benefits for using credit cards. Now, there's nothing bad with them. The thing with credit cards is, if you use them in such a way to your advantage, it can actually be a really good instrument to help you out in many different ways. However, the unfortunate part is when people get behind on paying their credit cards, that's when things get really bad really fast, simply because the interest payments on credit cards and the interest rate on credit cards is generally very high, 19, 20%, possibly even higher in some instances. Well, it's really hard to get ahead when you're paying 20% interest, right? I feel like a lot of people have experienced that at some point in their life. When using credit cards, all of a sudden, maybe you get a little bit behind. Maybe you get laid off. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe something happens with your income and all of a sudden you can't make your payment for a couple months. Well, that's unfortunately when it gets really bad really fast. So, let's talk through some different ways why credit cards are actually kind of a good thing. So here's the thing with credit cards. It is exactly that. It is credit. It's the ability to use somebody else's money to get what you need and then pay them back at a later time. In this instance, many times it's a bank or a credit union or whatever, whoever is the holder of your actual credit card. Here's the thing. You go out to the store, you buy what you need, and you put it on the card, right? You put it on the card and you float the balance for maybe, I don't know, a couple days, maybe a few weeks, maybe until your next bill cycle comes up. Maybe that's, a few weeks out, whenever that happens to be, and then you can pay that off. It's a nice way where you can kind of push out some of your expenses out into the future by a matter of just a few weeks. To be totally honest with you, I use credit cards for everything. I rarely ever use cash for anything. I do carry some cash with me occasionally, but I would say it'd be a rare day that you see me out in public and I actually have cash on me. Unless I'm traveling, that's about the only time I have cash on me. Other than that, I virtually carry zero cash, and I haven't for many, many years, simply because there's no need to. However, I do carry about 3 credit cards with me at all times. Well, let me be fair. I carry 2 credit cards and I carry 1 debit card. Other than that, that's about it. So, here's the thing with credit cards. As I said, use it as a tool, okay? So here's the cool thing about credit cards. Right now, there's only about 9,000 credit cards out there. I don't really know what the real number is. I just made that 9,000 number up. I have no clue, but I do know that there are tons of different credit cards virtually focused around everything. You can get credit cards with all kinds of different cash back options, travel points for obviously travel, hotels, airlines, all kinds of different things. You can get all kinds of rewards for credit cards. So the deal is, when you go out to the store and you spend money on just the everyday things that you always do, or even better, if you're at home shopping online, again, use a credit card, and here's the deal. You can get cash back, or points towards travel, or maybe points towards gift cards, or other types of perks, things like this. So what's really cool is a lot of times credit cards have built-in perks where you can get anywhere between like 1%, 2%, 5% in some instances, and some credit cards even have up to like 7 or even 10% on special occasions. Yeah, so really you can get a return on your money just by using a credit card. I would say at an absolute minimum, you can get 1% back without even really trying. And that's just on your card, not taking into consideration maybe any other cashback apps that you may be using, or maybe like coupons or any other in-store perks or anything like that. So the cool thing with credit cards, I want to make this a really basic video simply because there's a lot to talk about with credit cards. I could come back and lay out a bunch of different credit cards out there right now where you could sign up, spend $200, and you could get back $100 as a one-time bonus. Or maybe something like you spend $500 in the first 3 months and you could get $250 back. Yeah, I mean, there are these programs out there right now. There's tons of different cards out there. There's actually 2 different cards that I use. They're actually held by the same bank. And the cool thing is when they're used in conjunction with each other, you can really maximize your benefits. Kind of a cool thing. But I want to kind of focus on just kind of some really basics around credit cards and why they're actually not a bad thing, even though there's a lot of guys out there saying, cut up your credit cards, never look at them ever again, avoid the plastic. And I would have to say, don't avoid the plastic. Just use it in such a way that you're using it to your advantage rather than letting the bank take advantage of you. Because let's be real. How many people are just saddled with credit card debt right now? A lot. In fact, if you look at the average credit card holdings right now across the United States, like the average person has something like $8,000 or something like that in credit card debt. That's a ton of money, right? Well, it doesn't really need to be that way. Now, again, I just want to be totally fair. I get it. Sometimes, like I said, you get behind and it's hard to get caught back up, especially with credit cards when you're paying such a high interest rate on that money. But the thing is, I just want to let you know, credit cards are not a bad thing at all. In fact, you can look at credit cards as a bad thing, or you can look at it as, hey, somebody else just gave me a credit line of maybe $1,000, maybe $5,000, maybe $10,000, where I can go out and spend their money and pay them back some other day. Not bad, right? Who doesn't love going out to the store and spending somebody else's money? I love it. I love being able to go out and spend somebody else's money and think about paying them back at some point in the future. Usually it's about 3 weeks later, maybe 4 weeks later, but either way, I don't have to front the cash right away, right? I can spend somebody else's money and think about them, someday later when I care enough to pay them back, right? Or if I just so wanted to, I wouldn't need to pay them back for a very long time. But then I would recognize that yes, I would need to pay them that high interest rate, which is not necessarily ideal. So here's the thing. Use credit cards to your advantage. Play the credit card game. There's a lot of different credit cards out there. There's some easy strategies in which you can really play the game and to really stack the odds and all the benefits in your favor and really make it a pleasant experience of using the plastic versus every time you use it, turning around and getting spanked by the bank, right? Not fun. That is not a fun situation. So here's the thing. Like I said, I wanted to make a really basic video, just talk about credit cards and let you know I definitely would not say cut up your credit cards. Also, at the same time, I would not say go out to the store and max it out. In fact, if you're going to do one of the two, I would say cut them up. Seriously, if you had to choose between max it out or cut it up, I would say please cut it up right away because maxing out a card could put you in a really bad financial situation for many, many years to come. Well, if you cut up your card, you could always just open up another one next week, right? It's a much better situation than maxing it out. However, for people who do have it maxed out, I'd love to make another updated video on this and to jump into it a little bit further and talk through some strategies in which you can actually pay down a maxed out credit card relatively quickly, even if you have very low income. Yeah, there are actually some ways that you can do it and ultimately get out from under the grips of the big banks who continue to make massive profits on people who just, had good intentions and unfortunately got behind on payments. And now they're within the grips of the big old banks, like a big old eagle sailing above the sky, floating around up there with a big old helpless, rabbit in his talons. That's a scary and sad situation. We don't want to be that guy. We want to be on the other side of the equation. So anyway, like I said, Really basic video, just really introductory, talking about credit cards and why they are actually a good thing and they can actually be used as a tool. Use it as an instrument to your advantage, and actually, it can be a pretty good experience. In fact, you can really build up some really nice benefits and some really nice perks that if you just kind of forget about them for a little while, all of a sudden one day you may just look at your card and say, whoa, I have $1,000 worth of points here. I could cash in for a $1,000 check, $1,000 worth of gift cards, $1,000 statement credit, and it could be a lifeline at some point going forward. So I want to come back with some more dedicated videos talking about credit cards and why they are such a good thing when used to your advantage, right? All right. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. I will definitely be back with more credit card type videos, and of course, money, investing, and all kinds of other videos talking about this stuff. I love this stuff. There are so many different strategies that you can really play the game and really stack the odds in your favor. So make sure to hit that subscribe button right down below the video so you can continue to watch all of these other videos that I continue to come back and update you with, as well as go back and check out some other videos right here in the playlist. If you'd like to check it out, the money and investing playlist, there's all kinds of cool videos right there in that one. Otherwise, I have a lot of video, over 1,300 videos right here on the channel. Feel free to check them out. And of course, feel free to share them with your friends, family, and social media. Thanks again. I really appreciate you. And I will help you in any way that I can get through and win the money and investing game. It's hard sometimes to get started, but that's the thing. You just got to get started at some point and get that ball rolling. But I want to be that guy to help you out. Thanks again, everyone. You're awesome, and I will see you again in the next video.